Welcome back to 304 Customs Garage. In this episode, I'm going to be covering the power steering setup on my V8 S10 swap that I plan to use. Behind me on the table, I have an array of parts laid out. I'm going to go over those in a second with you. I'll show you the part numbers for everything, where I plan to use them, and my idea behind this setup on this V8 S10 swap. We'll also be using that AN hose you can see back there on the box for some custom power steering lines. And we'll show you the difference between the hose that I'm going to be using versus your regular steel braided hose. So without stalling any longer, let's go ahead and get into the box and this to-do list checked off. Okay, so to start with this video tonight, I'm going to go ahead and show you everything that I'm planning to use in this power steering setup in this small block Chevy S10. First off, we have here in front of us is a Saginaw style power steering pump for Chevrolet small block. Or maybe you can run this on a big block as well. I purchased this from Jegs. This is nicely powder coated black. And this is a plastic cap here. I'll show you the part number for this real quick. This is the one I'm using. 60701. In the description, it says could come with the plastic cap, or it says that it could come with this cap. I didn't take the chance, and I figured I could always send it back if it did come with it. There's the part number for this. This is a nice aluminum cap. It's not plastic, and it goes for this power steering pump. I figured it would look nice with the aluminum pulley on there. That's why I purchased it. So the plans are mount this, the small block. And I also note, before we go ahead and jump to the next part here, this model is the keyway. There's a little keyway here, and it's not a press fit. I chose to do that. That's easier for me to do. Pick whatever one you choose to use. Now, when you order this, I picked out this nice aluminum pulley for it. As you can see, it has the little keyway there also. Needs a little cleaned up, but it'll look nice with the aluminum pulleys that are already on the motor. Part number for this one is 504096. Power steering pump, early GM. To get this bad boy on the small block Chevy, I picked up this. I got this from Summit Racing. This is a lower block mount. Since I have the alternator on the right side, I'm going to be running this power steering pump on the left side of the motor, and I'm going to mount it to the block. This is made by ICT Billet. I believe that is the part number, the 551522. Small block Chevy power steering kit. Comes with all the bolts, mounts, and looks like an instruction manual also. I haven't opened this yet. We'll get to that. Up next, after we get that mounted, you're going to have a supply of power steering fluid. So I picked up this AeroQuip hose, nice stainless braided hose that we're going to make some power steering lines out of. But I will note, this is not your normal power steering hose. I don't know if you can see that. That is not rubber inside there. This is what they call PTFE steel braided hose. It is almost like a plastic liner inside of this, and it's supposed to be able to handle the higher pressures of the power steering well. This stuff is made by AeroQuip, and if anyone has a question, that's what it looks like. I believe that's your part number. So we'll get to that later in the video when we get those made. To connect those to this power steering pump, I have an array of fittings. This is the fitting that I'm planning to run into the back of the pump here. You'll take a look here. You have this little white plug. Take that out. And then, just gotta lay that down, I don't want that to fall. I'm going to run this flare fitting I believe this is the correct one for this. If not, I will definitely let you know when I get to it. I have not opened any of this stuff yet, except for this one fitting to show you. We're going to be connecting the hose to those fittings with these PTFE AN fittings. Now again, these are a little bit different. You can see that in there. There is an O-ring in there. And then on this side that goes to the actual hose itself, you have a little brass ferrule that also has an O-ring in it. So these are a little bit different than your regular rubber AN hose fittings. And these are supposed to handle the pressure of the power steering. So, we'll go ahead and take a look at all this stuff. I have a couple more fittings to show you. I'm going to test them before I show you these other ones. And we'll be right back. Alright, so I did check the fitment on these. These are correct. I thought they were. I just want to make sure before I told anyone the wrong information. I want to make sure I have good information for you all. So, these fittings here, as you can see, since I already have them out of the package, these are stainless fittings. They come with a little O-ring that goes on the bottom here, and these screw into your power steering gearbox that mounts to your frame. These are 6 AN to whatever thread this would be. I can't remember the thread pitch on these, but I'll show you the part numbers for each one. You have one for the feed and then the return, or the low pressure and the high pressure. And you want to pick up both of these if you're planning to swap everything over to AN lines like I am. Part number for this, AFC 37122. And the other side is AFC 37123. And those will allow you to adapt AN lines into your gearbox here. So we'll go ahead and get those put in, and then we'll jump in to start making some lines. Alright, to start this AN hose, I recommend putting a piece of tape on your end that you cut or at the beginning of the hose. You're going to slide this little piece here that's removable on your AN fitting. In this case, it's a 90-degree fitting. Go ahead and put that on here, slide that out of the way. Then you're going to get a little bit of oil or some kind of power steering fluid or something, and lubricate that seal. And then a little bit on this AN fitting here as well. It'll help that slide on there. You're also going to take a small screwdriver, as I already have, and peel that away from the little plastic insert. You're going to put this brass fitting down into the braided hose. And if you look, it should come all the way up to that O-ring that's inside this little brass ferrule. Sometimes it might be a little difficult to push in there. That one is seated all the way. So I'll be right back. We're going to put a little bit of oil in here, slide this on here, and then we'll put it on the back of the pump here on the truck in a minute. Alright, took a little off-camera muscle to get this on. So now you're going to make this compression on this fitting. So you're going to slide your little piece that you slid onto the hose previously. Go ahead and make sure that you don't get any stuff in the threads like I did. And then you can go ahead and tighten that up. Still got some stuff in the threads. There we go. Then we're going to take this over to a vise, put this piece in the vise, and tighten this up. And then I'll clock it to whatever way I want to use it. And then next, we're going to cover a little fitting in this, and then we're going to put this on the truck so we can figure out how long our hose needs to be and which direction to route it. Okay, so up next we have this nice jigs piece here. This is also 6 AN to 5/8 inverted flare. So this is going to go back in the back here for our AN line. And as you can see that on camera, is inverted flare. This will allow us to adapt our AN line that we just made, roll a piece of it into this. So we're going to screw this in here. And I'll tighten that up a little bit. We'll get this on the truck, and then we will be ready to go and figure out how long our lines need to be. Before I forget and get putting the power steering pump on the truck, I wanted to touch on this steering shaft that I'm going to be using in this build. This is the Hooker Blackheart. This is mainly, I think, made for LS swaps. However, it will work with a small block Chevy. There is the part number. Made in Taiwan also, but it looks pretty sturdy. And I know in the factory one, if you all are putting this into an S10, you know what I'm talking about. It's like that big. It's like some kind of humongous thing there. So in the ends, you'll see this is much smaller. I know other people probably use like a steering shaft out of like a Grand Cherokee or Jeep Cherokee or something like that. I just went ahead and picked this one up. It's a nice looking piece for what it is. It wasn't too expensive. And I believe it'll save me a lot of room, especially with those fender well headers and the power steering lines that I'm going to be running in there. But just wanted to touch that. Once again, there's the part number. So let's go ahead and get this power steering pump on the truck. Okay, so off camera, I went ahead and mounted this up. I have this setting here right now, just setting there. Wanted to make sure everything is good. I'm going to go get the pulley here in a second and make sure it fits as well. It should have plenty of clearance by the looks of it. This ICT billet block mount power steering for the Saginaw pump. I like this kit. I would buy it again, I believe. It was very simplistic. And take a look at this. It gives you everything you need here. If you can see this. It even has like a little measurement over here to show you what size bolts for quick and easy access. Tells you what bolts go everywhere. It's very simple to put on. So the only thing left is to get the, I guess, little tension arm. And I'm going to check the pulley. I already checked the power steering line that I made earlier off camera. And then we're going to go ahead and measure it over to our fittings. And we'll get to that here in a second. And I should pretty much wrap everything up. So we'll be right back with you once I get the pulley and stuff on. Okay, so we finally got everything on, as you can see here. We are going to have to cut this video a little shorter than I wanted it to be. I realized that the belt that I had I thought would work is actually about 3 inches too short. So I'll have to stop after work tomorrow and get another belt for that. Everything, we covered just about everything in this video so far. If you have any questions, feel free to leave in the comments. I'll gladly try to answer them. So, to recap what we did, showed you all the parts, part numbers. Get back to the beginning of the video and watch it. You'll see all the part numbers for everything. We screwed the flare fitting into the back. You got to remove the little stud that's on the back of the Saginaw pump. And then we also installed our bracket, our cooler, or not cooler, but power steering lines, the high pressure and low pressure, feed and return, or feed and return. That's something else I maybe should have touched on. If I'm not mistaken, I'll double check this. Please double check this before you go doing this if you happen to watch this video for any reason. This, closest to this box here, should be your feed coming off of that fitting we screwed into the back of the power steering pump. And this one up here, it'll be closest to the steering shaft, should be the return line. And that'll go to this little barb that comes off the end here, or loops down. Everything fit. We test fit the AN lines already. And we'll put the pulley on. So, since I don't have a belt, I'm not going to be able to make my lines lengthwise just yet, but I showed you how to put the fitting onto the line. The only thing you need to do is put some tape on it, tape it off about where you want to, probably leave a little bit of slack in it. Go ahead and put them on, figure out where it needs to be, and then cut it off, put the fittings on, screw them in here and route them so they're not going to get tangled up with anything. You don't want it to be hitting the pulley here. And then the last thing we need to do, besides add power steering fluid, which I'll do off camera, is we're going to take this little plastic cap out and we're going to replace it with this nice little shiny one. Much better. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to let me know in the comments. Please like and subscribe to the channel. We're growing, have a lot more content to make. We're getting this truck done a little bit at a time. Hopefully in the next video we can put some headers on here and get them test fit. I need to move those brake lines. I might have to redo them. Brake lines actually, I hope not, but we'll see. Then we'll get that carburetor and stuff ready and we'll get that on here. In the meantime, check out one of these other videos. And as always, I thank you for watching and I hope I'll see you next time. Have a good night.